Okay, so let us study more about your another data type, that is your list. Okay, so Python lists are similar to that of arrays in C language or any other language. However, the list can contain data of a different types. The items stored in the list are separated with the commas and enclosed within the square brackets. So in order to create a list, what are the things we need to consider is always we need to take them in a square brackets and the value should be separated by a comma. A list can do both homogeneous as well as your heterogeneous data. So it means that a list can hold both the data, that is the homogeneous as well as the heterogeneous data can be enclosed in it. Next, every element rests at some position, that is the index in the list. So that is the index can be used later to locate a particular item. We all know that the array is also the array elements. Whenever we store up the things over there, they are being accessed with the help of the index number. Okay, same goes here as well. So we can use slice, that is in the bracket colon, again close the bracket, operator to access the data of the list. The concatenation operator plus and the repetition operator, that is your star, works with the list in the same way as we were working with the strings. The most commonly used data structure in the Python is nothing but your list. And coming back to the next point, that is Python list is a container like an array that holds an ordered sequence of objects, I would say. So let us see an example for it now. So just check out with an example. How do you create in the first two statements? You have a comment line, that is the comment line is always with the help of your hash and whatever the name you want, whatever the comment you want to put up. Then we are taking up a variable L1 is equals to the square brackets. So this is an empty or a blank list, I would say. So coming back to the next list of integers it is. So I have created a L2 variable which is L2 list, the data type which is containing 10, 20, 30. So this is how we create up a list. Coming back to the third list, we have taken it as which is containing the integer as well as a string, that is it is a combination, it is a heterogeneous data has been enclosed. So this is how we take up your list. Clear? Okay, now moving on to the next example on the list. So just check out here in the first statements we have 1 and hi Python and 2. So it is just that I've created a list that is the heterogeneous list, I would say. Okay, then we have a comment line which tells us that it is gonna check up with the type. So in order to check up with the type, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna use a print function, then in the bracket type and the variable which is holding it, that is nothing but the list which is holding it. So the list name is list1. So I'm gonna pass that particular parameter to the type function. So when I do that, so just check out here in the output, the first statement is 1 hi and then Python, right? So this is how printing the list, print list1. Okay, now list slicing, print list1 3 colon. So when I say 3 colon, just have a look into it, what exactly is doing. This is nothing but slicing. Okay, now coming back to the next thing. Now moving on to the tuple. So a Python tuple is nothing but a collection type data structure which is immutable by design and holds a sequence of heterogeneous elements. Okay, so it functions almost like a Python list but with the following distinctions. And tuples store a fixed set of elements and do not allow changes, whereas the list has the provision to update its content. For example, if I have a tuple which can hold something around 5 elements into it, so at that moment what happens, if I have already stored 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in my this particular tuple, but later on if I want to change up that particular tuple, I cannot do that, but whereas in the list I can do that. Then the list uses square brackets for opening and closing, whereas the tuple has got parentheses for the enclosure. So in order to create a tuple, we use a brackets. Okay, but whereas in order to create your list, we use a square brackets, and in the square brackets as well, we use a comma to separate our values, and same goes with the tuple. Here we use a comma to separate the values, but compulsorily they need to be enclosed in a parenthesis, I would say. Then a tuple is a read-only data structure, as we can't modify the size as well and the value of the items of the tuples as well. Now looking at the next slide, just have a look into it here. Now this is how we create our tuple. In the first statement, it is nothing but an empty tuple. Okay, a blank tuple, I would say. So create a tuple without using round brackets. If we do, how it will, just check out, compare with the program and the output as well. Okay, just check out the example. Now firstly, I have created an empty tuple, so it is a blank tuple, I would say. And coming back to the next, create a tuple without using round brackets. So if we don't use a round brackets, how it looks like, just check out. Now again, we have taken up a tuple with only numbers, and in the next, what we have done, we have created a tuple using your integer, float, as well as your imaginary. Okay, so it is just trying to tell you that tuple can be a combination of a homogeneous as well as the heterogeneous data. That's all. And in the last, just check out there, we have a nested tuple within a tuple. Okay, so this is how we take up your tuple. To give another example for the tuple, just check here. We have a tuple which is containing high Python and integer value 2. So when I print that, I'll be getting the type. Type is nothing but which data type it is. So it is going to check and tell you. Now just check out over there. Just check out the program once again. Yeah. Okay, just check out the example and the output there. So you have your first statement, which is asking for the type and the other information. So checking type of tup, so class is nothing but your tuple. Okay, right? Yes. So okay, just check out over there. In the first, it is just giving you the class of it to which it belongs, and checking out with printing the tuple. In the second statement, it has printed the contents of the tuple, right? That is in, just check out your second one, high Python and 2. Then coming back to your tuple slicing, that is print function tup and then 1 colon. 1 colon means which is the first element here. Now 0th element is high, first element is Python, second element is 2, right? So in the third print statement, just check out there, it is trying to print it from the first element and then so on. Colon, if you don't specify the next limit, it will print the rest of all the elements. So first element is Python, and then coming back to the second one is 2. Go with the next print statement, print tup from 0 to 1. From 0 to 1 means it is going to print the 0th element and exclude the first element. Coming back to the next tuple concatenation using the plus operator, print tup plus tup. That is tuple plus tuple. That is nothing but here the contents of the tuple are being printed, concatenated twice. Then coming back to the repetition. With the help of the repetition, that is print tuple star 3. So the 3 times it has been printed over there. Now adding value to the tuple, it will throw an error. Now if I try to access, I already said that with the help of your index number you need to access it. So if I try to add up, what it will give me, it will type me an error like tuple object does not support id assignments. So at the end we get to know that the tuple elements cannot be modified, whereas the list data can be modified. Okay, yeah. So that was about your tuple. So we shall see the next dictionary in the further videos.